When the Old World first met the New, Catholics were on the cutting edge of discovery, conquest, mission work, and settlement. In 1565, America's first Catholic parish was established in St. Augustine, Florida. Santa Fe, America's oldest capital city, was founded in 1610. In English, the city's formal name is the Royal Town of the Holy Faith of St. Francis of Assisi. In 1632, the Catholic Lord Baltimore, Cecil Calvert, was granted a charter from King Charles I to found a colony along the Chesapeake Bay. Cecil and his father George were converts at a time of Catholic persecution in England. Their plan was for the new colony to be a Catholic refuge. Things did not go exactly as planned. Yet, long before Catholics in England could reclaim their freedom under law, Catholics in Maryland claimed, lost, then reclaimed theirs. On November 22, 1633, two ships, the Ark and the Dove, set sail from the Isle of Wight, destined for the Chesapeake Bay. Altogether, there were more than 200 passengers. Only a few were Catholic, including two Jesuit priests. On March 25, 1634, the settlers, led by the colony's first governor, Leonard Calvert, arrived at St. Clement's Island. It was the Feast of the Annunciation. Father Andrew White celebrated Mass, the first in the American colonies. The colony was named Maryland, after King Charles's Catholic wife, Queen Henrietta Maria. The newly arrived colonists called their first settlement St. Mary's, after the mother of Jesus. In 1649, Maryland's Legislative Assembly passed an Act of Religious Toleration for all Christians. The act gave Catholics more rights than in any other American colony. That same year, Charles I was beheaded, having lost the English Civil War to Cromwell and the Puritans. 5 years later, Protestants, including Parliamentary Commissioner William Claiborne, gained control of the Maryland government and repealed the Act of Toleration. By 1692, Maryland had established the Church of England as the colony's official church. In 1704, the State Assembly passed an act to prevent the growth of Popery. Catholics were prohibited from voting, taxed at twice the level of other citizens, and restricted to their homes for worship. In 1756, Maryland's Assembly passed another act to prevent the growth of Popery. Catholics were to surrender their armor, gunpowder, and ammunition. The tide began to change in 1773. The year in which colonial rebels staged the Boston Tea Party, a protest against British taxation. That same year, a Catholic, Charles Carroll of Carrollton Manor, staged his own protest in Maryland, in writing. Using the pseudonym First Citizen, Carroll penned a series of letters in the Maryland Gazette, arguing against a proclamation by Royal Governor Robert Eden that established a set of fees to be charged by public officials. Carroll's star was rising. In 1774, the British Parliament passed the Quebec Act, which granted full civil rights to Catholic Canadians. Protestant zealots across colonial America denounced the act. In 1775, the Continental Army attempted an ill-fated campaign to take Quebec. In March of 1776, on a most improbable mission, the Continental Congress sent emissaries to Catholic Quebec, hoping to garner support for their war against Great Britain. Among them were Charles Carroll and his cousin John, a Jesuit priest. The others were future Justice of the Supreme Court, Samuel Chase, and the statesman Benjamin Franklin. The mission failed, but the impression made by the two Catholics was not lost. Charles Carroll would be the only Catholic among the signers of the Declaration of Independence. During the War for Independence, many of Carroll's fellow Catholics served in the 1st Maryland Regiment. General George Washington, who considered Maryland soldiers to be among his best, forbade the entire Continental Army from burning effigies of the Pope on Guy Fawkes Day. In 1784, Pope Pius VI named John Carroll as superior of the American Catholic missions. 1 year earlier, from his diplomatic post in Paris, Benjamin Franklin had sung the Jesuits' praises to the papal nuncio de France. In 1789, Franklin's friend became the first Catholic bishop in America. 2 years later, Bishop John Carroll founded the Jesuit college, Georgetown, America's first Catholic college. Daniel Carroll, cousin to Charles and brother to John, was one of the 2 Catholics who signed the U.S. Constitution. The other was Thomas Fitzsimmons of Philadelphia. In 1776, the Maryland Constitution restored full rights to Catholics. Charles Carroll helped draft the Restoration. In England, Catholics would not achieve comparable legal protection for another 55 years through the Catholic Emancipation Act of 1829. Maryland's Constitution of 1851 protected religious freedom for Jews and other non-Christians. All religious requirements for public office were dropped in the new Maryland Constitution, ratified in 1867, 2 years after the Civil War ended. Charles Carroll of Carrollton Manor died in 1834. The Catholic statesman who helped restore the original vision for Maryland was the last surviving founding father. Today, his bronze image stands in the crypt of the U.S. Capitol.